The Mr. Bravo Show is brought to you by viewers like you. It's so early. Okay. Hello. Have you ever wondered, why are things so much cheaper than they used to be back in the day? Why is the quality of those things so much worse than back in the day? And how is it possible for things to be manufactured, shipped, and sold on a global scale in seemingly no time? China. Back in the 1970s, the one and only Richard "Dick" Nixon softened relationships with China. Back then, the United States had recognized the official government of China to be in Taiwan, after the Communist Party of China overthrew the official Chinese government. After decades of support and alliance with the Taiwanese government, Dick overturned years of precedents in one single week by declaring, "The Communist Party of China is the real Chinese government," prompting the states to withdraw all military installments on Taiwan and becoming more buddy-buddy with the communists. Even though this move was more to drive a wedge into the influence of the Soviet Union in the Southeast Asian region, this Richarding of Taiwan allowed China to come onto the global stage. I am allowing China to come onto the global stage. Fast forward to the 1980s. Companies across the United States are starting to realize that manufacturing stuff, along with hiring labor within the country, is getting more and more expensive. But wait, if labor is so expensive here, why don't we just move our manufacturing and our labor to China? Why yeah, the Chinese do need some factories and jobs over there. Those poor communists. Fast forward for a few more years, and China all of a sudden is one of the largest global superpowers. Within less than 50 years, China's GDP has risen from about 1 billion in 1970 to a whopping 18.5 billion in 2024, being on par with the European economy. Poverty in China has shrunk to an all-time low from most of the country being in poverty. Car ownership has skyrocketed compared to when owning a bike was a luxury, and businesses are starting left and right. That's all fine and dandy, right? Well, kind of. Remember those executives that sent manufacturing and labor over to China? Well, that homegrown labor and manufacturing never really returned to the United States. Sure, the US has the largest economy in the world, but very little is truly manufactured in the United States anymore. This is not a phenomenon unique to the United States. This is happening across Europe, across South America, and other parts of Asia as well. But why is China winning at manufacturing nowadays? 1. China owns all the machines. If you want to manufacture a product, you need a lot of specialized machines, access to raw materials, and a large labor force. Guess who has all of those? You guessed it, China. As more and more companies were moving their manufacturing overseas, China invested more and more into the critical infrastructure needed to produce all the various commodities the world wanted. And today, as a result, China has the capability to produce almost anything due to the amount of factories it has. 2. China is more relaxed with regulations. Ever wonder why your city has little smog, decently clean roads, and power plants that are for the most part out of sight? Well, your city probably has stricter environmental and emission standards compared to most Chinese cities. As a result, polluting your environment is considerably more illegal compared to what you can get away with in China. Outside of environmental regulations, Chinese worker laws are not nearly as strict as they are in other parts of the world, leading to workers doing labor that other more developed nations either cannot do or are not willing to do properly. For a lot of Chinese citizens, a job is a job. Food needs to get onto the table, one way or another. But seriously, look up some of the videos on Chinese job sites. There's some crazy shit out there. Oh, sorry, where were we? Oh yeah. 3. The Chinese government subsidizes the steamrolling. If you want to operate a business in China, odds are you need to go through the government and have them on board. As in, make sure the party approves of your business. Once you're approved, the government will be a lot cushier to you and will do what it can to make sure your business stays a success. You stole another Western company's IP? That's okay, we won't enforce the law. Your workers are complaining about work conditions? No problem, let's help you install suicide nets. Your product is not being sold well overseas? No problem, we will fund you so you can set your prices so low that other countries cannot compete, leaving only your service available. Isn't it great having the government on your side? Terms and conditions apply. Can be revoked at any time for any reason. You may not critique the government in any way, shape, or form, and you may not talk poorly about Xi Jinping. Failure to comply will result in your company and life being terminated. God save the dear leader. This also complicates things when governments try to convince companies to return their manufacturing back to their home countries. Suppose you are the president of a large country who wants your manufacturer the prized possession of its home country, an iPhone 16 Pro Max. I will manufacture an iPhone 16 Pro Max here in the United States. Well, let's take a look at the various things you need in order to make this a reality. A lithium mine, a gold mine, a copper mine, child labor, migrant labor, nickel mines, aluminum refinery, steel refinery, a glass factory, semiconductor factory. Well, guess how many of those things the United States has on US soil? Given that access to most of these things is laughable at best and non-existent at worst, it becomes a lot more challenging to have things made in the USA, or made in insert country here. As nice as the dream of being completely self-reliant and only producing things within one's own borders is, the tough reality is that currently, it is next to impossible for a single country to produce everything on its own without massive human rights abuses, devastating environmental policy, poor labor rights, or an overpowering centralized government. Except for one country.